All right, well, thank you. Before we start our 5-minute rounds, there are questions that we ask all nominees, and I just simply need a yes or no from you. It speaks to the importance this committee places on responsiveness by officials in the executive branch, and that we expect and will be seeking from you. So do you agree to appear before this committee and make officials from your office available to the committee and designated staff when invited?
Yes.
Do you commit to keep the committee fully and currently informed about the activities under your purview?
Yes.
Do you commit to engaging in meaningful consultation while policies are being developed, not just providing notification after the fact?
Yes.
And do you commit to promptly responding to requests for briefings and information requested by the committee and its designated staff?
Yes.
All right. So our nominee has answered yes to all those questions, so we'll start a round of 5 minutes. I'll recognize myself. It's obvious the importance of this nomination, because while we have a whole series of nominees that will be testifying at a second panel, we've had you exclusively before this panel, which, before the committee. So it speaks volumes about the importance that we think this particular position entails. And so I want to ask you, I know that you have been our ambassador to Armenia. I know that you at one time were the deputy chief of mission in Russia. But this is a very high profile and I would say tough job. Are you up to it?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. I believe that I am. Over the course of my 28 years in the Foreign Service, I have been tested in a number of assignments, both in terms of some of the challenges of physical security during a tour in Peshawar, Pakistan. My tour as Deputy Chief of Mission in Russia at the embassy in Moscow was already in a period after Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea, when our relations were hurtling downward, and we faced regular harassment of our staff. I personally experienced some of that, where we were in the glare of ambushes from so-called journalists. So I have seen in Russia already some of what I expect will be a continuation of some of the same practices. And then let me say, finally, it has been a tremendous honor to be the U.S. ambassador to Armenia in a period of enormous opportunity, but of tremendous challenge, as I know you understand very well as someone who has followed the Caucasus very closely. During my tenure, we were in a period of active conflict, a war that brought tremendous pressures on our embassy, on our staff, and that is another experience that I believe I will bring to bear in serving, if confirmed, as the U.S. ambassador to the Russian Federation. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You referred to some of the difficulties of this particular assignment. The Russian government has sought to make it difficult for the United States to operate diplomatic facilities in Russia. They forcibly terminated local employed staff, declared diplomats to be persona non grata. So we want to, first of all, take this opportunity to thank the personnel who have worked at our embassy in Russia over the years, both Americans and local staff, and particularly those currently serving during an incredibly trying and challenging time. How can the embassy's work be effective, both in terms of providing service on behalf of Americans and in representing and advancing U.S. interests at a time that our diplomatic relations are barely existent?
Mr. Chairman, as you well know and the committee knows, we are operating at a greatly reduced staffing, and yet everything that I have seen in my preparation for this hearing and for understanding our operations in Moscow speaks to the dedication, the capabilities of our excellent team in Moscow of Americans in able to carry out duties under extremely difficult circumstances. It isn't easy, particularly in the kind of surveillance environment that we have in Russia. I mean, this was something that I saw when I was the deputy chief of mission. It's almost impossible to go anywhere without some kind of surveillance, including when we were meeting journalists, political activists, academics, and it has gotten a lot harder even since then. People are afraid. But what has struck me as I've looked at some of the work that the embassy is doing is that Russians are still reaching out to us, interested in maintaining contact. We have still some very strong public diplomacy programs that are active, exchange programs that are allowing us to keep the door open to Russian citizens who are interested in a better kind of relationship in future. But it is difficult, and we have to be careful because of the risks that people are taking when they are in touch with our embassy in these times.
Two final sets of questions, so let me try to synthesize them. I remain deeply concerned about Americans detained in Russia, including Paul Whelan, Brittany Griner, Mark Fogel, and James Wilgus, a New Jersey constituent. Do you commit to requesting regular consular access for all Americans detained in Russia to ensure that their basic needs are being met?
Absolutely.
Will you personally commit to visit wrongfully detained Americans Paul Whelan and Brittany Griner and support SPIHA in working to secure their release?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Russia continues to jail opposition leaders, including Vladimir Kara-Murza, Alexei Navalny, Ilya Yashin, who are, in my belief, are true patriots of Russia who advocate for a better future for the Russian people. In September, Ranking Member Risch and I wrote the administration requesting a determination under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights and Accountability Act as to whether the treatment of Mr. Kara-Murza is sanctionable under the act, and if so, if the administration plans to impose sanctions. So, assuming you are confirmed, do I have your commitment that you will work with the administration to respond to our letter with a determination no later than January 20th of next year, which is the date required by law?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have other questions in this regard, but I'll submit them for the record in deference to my colleagues. Senator